Sorry, Sarah, start with.
Maybe we can start with you, Alan, then, because you can explain to Griffin how one can be like your son's expert scientist, but still not understand anything about the truth of life.
Yeah, good question. I think that they have different domains of understanding, science and Buddhism. So science is evidence-based. It gets its evidence from what is seen, what is heard, what is touched, and what is tasted. But science doesn't understand the nature of those realities. So the scientist doesn't understand and cannot understand what is seen or the nature of what is seen through science. But that doesn't mean to say they cannot be scientists. So science, it gets its evidence from realities experienced through five doorways, but those realities, the nature of those realities is not understood. So we have different domains of understanding. The understanding that Buddhism has is of realities, what we call realities or dharmas, but the understanding of science is the understanding of ideas, and those ideas about reality or about the world, or their ideas about other ideas. So for example, if we have heat, in science, in physics, heat is understood as the kinetic energy, the average kinetic energy of the molecules moving around. But that word heat represents a reality which can be experienced through the body sense. The scientist never studies the reality of heat through the body sense when it's there. So we have these two different domains of understanding, and we can have both. We can be the scientist, but we can also develop an understanding of realities. They don't conflict in any way, but sometimes a belief in science can stop people from understanding Buddhism because they think that the only way of understanding the world is through science. But actually, there's another way of understanding the world, and Buddhism is that other way. So it's good to be scientists, but you should also be able to consider, it's good to be able to consider Buddhism as well, different way of understanding the world. So that's my take on science, Sarah. Is that,
and
would you agree?
That's very, very good. And Griffin's question this morning, when we were talking about realities like seeing now, hearing now, was so what? Who cares? Why? What is the relevance? Why come here? Why understand the truth about these realities now? What would you like to say to him?
When they're not understood, it's quite dangerous. We are, if you like, burdened with the idea of self or someone, some person who sees, hears, thinks, feels, touches, tastes. And so our life, we kind of beat ourselves up, if you like, over thin air. So not understanding reality is the cause of an awful lot of problems, if not all the problems in life. So it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy our life, but we can enjoy our life and understand these realities, because as they're understood more, there will be less attachment to the idea of self, little by little, which is a huge benefit. And if there's less attachment to the idea of self, and if there's more understanding of reality, less liable to go wrong, because many people go wrong with their attachment and aversion, attachment and hatred, if you like. I counted something like 8 news items from the BBC yesterday. 7 of them were people going wrong, killing, stealing, lying, sexual assault. So it's dangerous not to understand realities, but it can, and it's just interesting to know the truth. So from a very young age, I was just interested to know the truth of life. Why are we here? Why do we live? So it's just good to understand the truth of life. But the more we understand about realities, the more we can see that actually it's quite dangerous not to understand it.
Okay, thanks, Alan. And Leanne has a topic to bring up, which relates to something that Riti mentioned this morning about observing and noticing, I think.
Thank you, Sarah. Actually, before I'm going to that, hearing what Alan just mentioned, I just want to make a comment to that point. Like Alan mentioned about when we don't have a right understanding of realities and thinking there's a self, there's I, there's a chance of going wrong, and there's it's very dangerous, like Alan just emphasized. I can see more than that, because with the idea of soul, there's another way of suffering. Like my own family member, my mother, have suffered from depression, like I share with some people at lunchtime. That's the idea of soul, the idea of I and my family, and it's all about me and mine, and that have put a lot of weight on us. And we can, in this case, there's not doing wrong the way Alan described, but there's a lot of suffering in a different way, living with anxiety and depression, and then it actually affects our other aspect of life as well, and physical health as well, not just mental health. So by learning the realities, understanding there's no I, no me, just realities arise by conditions, that burden slowly be lightened and lightened. And myself, I can see myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but for myself, I can see that become lessened. Even though my understanding is still very weak, I'm still considering myself a beginner, but I can see that things have become lighter compared to what I took as me and my story, my family, before was huge, like I would be very sad, would be despaired now when I heard my mom is very sick or something happening in my family. But now I'm kind of feel more at ease, even though I still care. Some people took it wrongly in thinking, oh, when you knew that, then if you learn, and when you say there's no self, then you don't care. But actually it's the opposite. You care, but without that, with less attachment, then less despair, less fear associated with it. And that's my own personal experience. So I don't know whether you want to stop here, or Griffin want to try to say anything, to share anything, or you want me to bring up that new topic?
Or I add any comments to that, or no? Okay, carry on.
When I was at the airport this morning, and also on the plane, I was thinking of something. I started noticing that I notice more. I pay more attention, or observe a bit more about mental activities. For example, I saw someone at the airport doing something funny, like selfie for 15 minutes. And I was like, started having mental chattering, like, oh, what's the meaning? What's the purpose? That kind of thing. And then straight after that, I realized this is conceit, like judging, comparing, like thinking that I'm better or something like that. Or I have more purpose in life or something like that, straight away. And I know that is a long story already, but I feel like I said earlier, I feel like I notice, I pay more attention. And then after that, I'm thinking many of my Dhamma friends, including myself, was taught of observation, paying attention to what you're doing. And that is mindfulness. And that is a practice, noticing. And when we do, the more we do that, we think that our mindfulness has developed and grown. Okay, and then I'm thinking, oh, would be something I can bring up in the Dhamma discussion, so I can hear more. But now I know that it's just thinking, it's observation or noticing is also just thinking. The reality is just thinking. But I want to hear more about this from Ajahn and John, Sarah, and everyone. Thank you.
And the point is it right thinking or wrong thinking when it's the idea that of observing or being mindful, like you say, to practice, focusing on this or that? Does it have anything to do with understanding reality? Or is it I, again, trying, wishing to notice, wishing to observe, even when it's I noticing how the other people are behaving at the airport, like you say, moments of conceit, also moments of I noticing them, someone there, someone here. So it has nothing to do with sati. Sati is wholesome mindfulness that arises with wholesome moments of consciousness. If there's understanding now of any truth about reality, there is mindfulness. But when it's noticing, observing, practicing mindfulness, it has nothing to do with the wholesome quality of mindfulness.
Yes, it's good that you notice it's just thinking. You notice it yourself. It's only thinking, because then it's still an idea of self who's thinking, and self comes in all the time, and we don't notice it. But it is so good to be reminded of this, that it is self again. Before we did not know, but when we listen to Ajahn, she explains so well that there is a self, and then little by little, we understand a little more. But when we think we have made progress, it's usually thinking of I do this.
Thank you, Sarah and Nina. Yes, you're right there. Without learning the realities, I would have think that it's me noticing, right? Me paying attention, me observe. Yeah, there's always an I there.
I think your comments about helping your mother or family members and the effect of the Dhamma on all these occasions is so correct, because before, so much fear and grief, as you mentioned, when the dear ones are suffering and so disturbed. And we think it's a kind of compassion, like going to the hospital and visiting and helping. But when we're in tears and we're so upset, actually, it's not kusala at those moments. It's dosa, thinking about our own unpleasant feeling. It's not caring for the other. It's not kindness. It's not compassion. It's just I not liking what I see and hear. So when it's true kindness or true compassion or true care, nothing unpleasant at those moments. So gradually there can be a little understanding of the difference. And of course, there's bound to be unpleasant feeling and grief, but at least there can be the beginning to appreciate this is not the compassion or kindness. So gradually there can be more assisting joyfully and smiling in a way that they will appreciate, so they can be happy that we are not grieving or sad, just doing our best. And it has its effect. So as you say, the understanding is like removing the big burden of I that should do this, that should notice, who should be good, should go here, who should be mindful, should slow down. This is a big burden, all these ideas of what I should do.
Thank you, Sarah. And there's another point. I also noticed that, and I mean, I can see, I can understand, and it makes sense to me that when we hear more about the truth, when we hear more about realities, it actually helps to condition for further understanding, further considering, like right consideration. That just now, when I met Ajahn at the very first few moments, for the first time in my life, I shed some tears, and then straight away, I mean, without my expectation or, you know, like way of knowing it coming, but then straight away, just like a few seconds after that, I realized this is a kusala. This is, you know, this is not kusala, because that's what we thought. Oh, you know, you're happy, you're gonna see a wise person, then a wise Dhamma, you know, how do you call it, teacher, then it would be kusala, would be something good. But then, because I already heard from many discussion, you know, tears are conditioned by anger or dosa, by dosa. And this, where this come from, because of the attachment, there must be an idea that, oh, why only until now I see Ajahn, why didn't I see Ajahn before, or something like that. Then straight away, there's a moment of consideration. I mean, you know, like correct consideration or wise consideration. I don't know the right word. Yeah. So and then I relate to that. So, oh, there must be, because I heard this before. Now there's this consideration.
Maybe.
But
what about tears of joy? Tears of joy.
Is there?
Well,
I didn't know that. I thought tear is what we call tear. Of course, the tear is a concept, but the rupa, right? That what we call tear is conditioned by.
Well, we can't know the answer by reasoning in that way. So, if there's dosa, it will appear. Or if it's attachment, it appears. So it doesn't help to
try to reason
that it must be this or it must be that.
Okay, I get it. We'll kind of hope.
All gone. You can see just in that moment of greeting, how much thinking there is.
A lot.
So much thinking.
Fast.
And it's all gone. It's all just us thinking about it now. So that's why, what about now? Because life is at this moment, those moments have all gone. So it's just thinking about the story about what has gone. So what about now? What is true now? Is there thinking now? Is there, oh, just a minute, Nina. We can't hear you, Nina. Is there thinking now?
I feel like I'm going to say the wrong answer.
Just
yes.
Yes. Is there seeing now?
Yes.
Is there hearing now?
Yes.
Is it life now?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And when the situation is different, is the thinking just the same, just thinking, and the seeing is just seeing, and the hearing is just hearing, regardless of the situation. The feeling may be different.
Yeah.
The thoughts may be different, but the actual thinking and seeing and hearing, and for that matter, the sound, is always just sound.
So we think a lot about what we ate and how we greeted Ajahn, what we felt about at that time, but actually all that can be known is now, because we can speculate, were they tears of joy or were they tears of sadness? But it's only thinking about that occasion. What about now? Is there pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling now?
Neither.
Neither, maybe, because it can be pleasant or unpleasant or just neutral feeling, yes, for a moment. So whatever we talk about actually is about now. Sorry, Nina, were you going to talk? Carry on. We couldn't hear you. We can't hear you, Nina.
Can you hear me now? Yes. So the kusala is just the kusala, and the akusala is just the akusala. And we should not attach so much importance to now, oh, now I have akusala, because they are all conditioned dhammas, and they don't last for a second. They're gone immediately.
To ask everyone this afternoon, if you use Pali terms, please give a translation, because some people who here are not familiar with them. So just explain if you use them.
So kusala is wholesome, what is good, helping, or considering the Dhamma is wholesome or kusala. And being cruel and unpleasant to other people is not wholesome, it's akusala. And they all arise because of conditions we cannot control what arises at each moment. But the most important thing is understanding that they arise because of their own conditions, not self.
And that's very important, because whether they were tears of kusala or tears of akusala, in fact, all gone, and they were not my tears. They were just different moments of different wholesome and unwholesome moments, different moments of pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling. And we take it all for mine, my anger in the taxi, my sadness or joy when I met Ajahn. But actually, they're just different realities, like the thinking, the seeing, the hearing now arising and falling away, not belonging to anyone at all. This is the main point. Would you like to add anything, Ajahn?
Same question again and again and again. But there can be a little more understanding from thinking, considering about it. What is real now? Yeah.
I still don't know.
See, is it a reality which doesn't know?
Yeah.
What is it? It's real at moment of I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So what is I don't know? See, I all day, all the time from birth. So many moments I see, I hear, I'm thinking right now. But what is true? I thinking, what is true? Is it real?
Yeah.
Okay, but no understanding of the truth of it, right? That's why we learn about what is there in order to let go ignorance, not understand any moment in life at all. Is it better than not knowing anything about now? Or have it on and on, ignorant? What is better?
Sorry, what was the question again?
What is real now? Again and again and again. No idea.
No.
Is there anything now or any moment now?
Yeah.
Yes, but no understanding of what is there at all, right?
Yeah.
So is it true?
Yeah.
This moment, when you say, yes, this moment is true, what is the moment which is true? What is the truth of that very moment which is so true?
No clue.
Can the scientists tell you?
No. I don't think anyone can tell me.
Can it be known?
No.
If some words about it, little by little, to understand it, to be considered whether it's as true as that word.
When you say, oh, I don't think anyone can know, of course, if one has never thought about it until now, that would seem to be the case, but it's possible that other people have considered this and are able to know and say what is real at the present moment, because what we're talking about will be the same for anyone, right? We're talking about what is real in the sense of universal sense. That must be what's true for one individual must be true for another if we're talking about things that are capable of being directly known. Would that be right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Are the problems you have in life the same as the problems Leanne has, or Ajahn has, or your mother has?
No.
Why are they different?
Because I'm a different entity.
What about ignorance, for example, or aversion, anger? Is it different because you think of yourself as a different entity, or is anger just the same?
Well, there's got to be a reasoning for the anger. There's
Right.
different types of anger.
The different types of anger, different degrees of anger, sometimes very little, sometimes very strong. Sometimes it's reasoning about the schedule at school. Sometimes it's about what your dad said. Sometimes it's about coming to the discussion or the taxi driver. It can be about anything, but the reality, the anger, is just anger, no matter strong or slight or here or there or about this or that story. It's just anger, common, very common. And attachment, the attachment that conditions that anger because of clinging so much to oneself and what I would like and my pleasant feeling. It can be very slight, like just a little bit of attachment to the color here, or it can be very, very strong, causing great grief, like strong attachment to one's pet and feeling so sad when it dies. But attachment is just the same, no matter John's attachment or your mother's attachment or mine. So we're talking about these realities that are common to all. The seeing is just seeing, the hearing is just hearing, attachment, aversion. None of them are anything special, just different realities arising and falling away. And is the attachment now the same as the attachment at lunchtime?
Attachment to what?
Just attachment maybe to the taste of the drink or to the colors on the screen. So different objects, different moments of attachment, but just the same tendency, the same inclination.
So attachment can sound a bit odd if we're used to using the term, but we use that term to cover any kind of liking or wanting or wishing or hoping. It's all basically the same reality, different from aversion towards something, which, as you mentioned, has its different degrees and manifestations also. But attachment is a general term for wanting, liking.
If there is no wanting or liking or clinging or attachment or liking, would there be any aversion or any anger?
Probably not.
Right.
So Sarah, on the point you make to Griffin earlier about anger in you, anger in, other people is, different degree, but it's still anger. I think that what we're trying to say is because anger has its own characteristic. So when we talk the same here, because it got that same characteristic, would that be easier to understand? Because anger got a particular characteristic. I think let Sarah explain that. But that's how I took it, how I understood it. Because of course you say, how come I'm different to Leanne? Why are you saying Leanne's anger is same as mine? I think that would be difficult for you to understand. But if the way I understood it, because that anger has its characteristic, or attachment has its own characteristic. It doesn't got, mixed up with any other reality. For that reason, we said it's the same because it's the same characteristics.
And this is like we discussed this morning, the seeing now. It's just like the seeing yesterday, or the seeing of an animal or an insect, or the seeing in the Buddha's time, the seeing in Australia or Cambodia. It's still just the reality of seeing. Hearing is just hearing. So we think this situation or this personality or this schedule is so important, but actually the thinking is just thinking, no matter it thinks about the clinging, the attachment is just attachment. So we learn more about the characteristics of different realities, just to begin to understand that this person we find so important and cling to so much, conditioning so much unhappiness and anger when we don't get what we would like, is actually a myth, because there are just these different dhammas, different realities arising and falling away. Many points to consider. Would
you like to answer? What is real now? What is this moment real?
Yeah.
What is it when you say yes, Otherwise you don't say yes. Right? So what is real now? Good to think about it.
I
Consider
don't know
it.
what the definition of real is.
So true to this moment. What is real now? You don't need any
See?
word from any book. This moment. What is real now?
I can see.
Okay, I or seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I. Yeah, I or seeing. What is real? See, we talk a lot about everything, different levels, but is there any understanding of the truth of what we have learned, even right now?
No.
Is it real, this moment? And you say, I see, right?
Yeah.
Consider a little more. What is seeing? In order to understand the truth between I or seeing, what is seeing?
My eyes are working.
Always I, right? From birth, always I. Before,
My eyes.
I,
My eyes.
oh, I see. Where's your eyes?
In my head.
See, can you experience that in your head?
They're literally inside my head.
When we say I'm seeing, are you referring to an experiencing?
Very literally, I'm seeing.
But is the seeing an experiencing?
Yeah.
Right. And is experiencing done by the eye, or is experiencing done by the consciousness?
Well, both.
So the eye is necessary, but the experiencing is experiencing a mental or a physical process.
Depends what you're doing. But ultimately, it's a mental.
Ultimately, it's mental. So it can depend on a physical base, for example. Like in order for there to be hearing, there has to be ear that on which the sound impinges, but the actual hearing is a mental experiencing, and the same with the seeing. Do we make the seeing happen, or does it just happen?
Just happens.
Yeah. How does it happen?
Like I'm about to give you a really wrong answer.
Well, we don't know, right? It just happens, doesn't it? Like the hearing. It's not something that can be turned on or off at will.
Yeah.
So it happens regardless of whether we want it to happen or not. So can we say it happens by conditions?
No. Because nothing prompts it to happen. It just happens.
Right. But there must be we can't say it just happens without any condition, even though we may not know what that condition is, because some people can't see, for example, or can't hear, or don't see at a given time something that's before their eyes. So this is just an example of what we mean by understanding the reality of the present moment.
Okay. What is there at moment of seeing?
Color.
What?
Color.
No one?
Sorry.
No one, only color.
Well, the colors make up the people.
So what are they now?
Still colors.
Only color. Appearing.
Well, it's always color, isn't it?
Color, 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 color. All
That you can see.
right. Mhm. Is color something or anything? Or it's just color?
Well, it's something. It's the people that are sitting in this room.
It's the people that are sitting in this room.
Not color,
Made up of color.
made up. Who made it up?
Well, that's
Color.
the only reason you can
But
see them.
color is just color. It cannot be anything at all. And it can be seen only. So are there many things around here or only color? At moment of seeing. Now, seeing.
I don't see anything else.
So I think you said that what is seen is color, and what follows closely upon the seeing of the color is the idea of people and things that are seen.
Yeah.
Without the experiencing of the color by seeing, there could be no idea of this room and the different faces and the table. But the seeing is one reality, and the thinking that follows it is another reality. Both are a kind of experiencing.
So without thinking about the different colors, could there be any idea of people and things and computers?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No.
So at the moment, at the moment now, when there's the idea of Vincent over there wearing a black t-shirt, could there be that idea without thinking?
No.
So it's the thinking. So the seeing just sees the color. And then so quickly there's the thinking about the different colors, the patterns, the t-shirts, the people, and so on. So seeing doesn't see the people, it just sees the color. And then there's thinking about the different people. And is it I that sees or what sees?
Or put that another way, we discussed earlier, seeing happens. not because we are willing it to happen or directing it to happen. It just happens. It can't be turned off and on. It will. So that's another way of considering Sarah's question, is seeing something that is controlled?
No.
No. So it can't be, seeing can't be the self. If there is a self, it can't be, seeing can't be it.
If seeing just sees color, can a self be seen?
No.
Can it be thought about?
Yeah.
Yes. Can at the moment of hearing, sound is heard. Can the sound be self?
I guess.
Without thinking, or when there is
Without thinking.
what is heard now?
What? Like around the room.
The moment of hearing what's heard.
At this moment in time.
At any moment of hearing what is heard.
Well, it depends what's happening in that moment.
Is around the room and people heard? Or is it just sound now that is heard?
Sound.
So just like the color, so the sound is heard, and then there is thinking about people around the room and different voices. So no self is seen, no sound, no self is heard, no self is smelt or tasted or touched. So the self is just thought about. At the moment of touching, is Griffin touched, or Sarah touched, or what is touched?
Not skin, clothing. Fabric.
Touch. What is touched?
Fabric.
If you close your eyes,
Is there fabric touched?
grab that microphone. What is the thing experience?
Plastic.
What is being experienced at the point of contact between your hand and the microphone?
It's sweaty.
So can you put that in terms that, so if someone doesn't understand sweaty?
It's wet. Wet.
Okay. And does it have a degree of hardness and softness?
It's hard, but it also feels like it could break if I squeeze hard enough.
So it's, and if you were to touch, if he were to hold a piece of ice, for example, what would be experienced at the point of contact? And
Cold.
yeah.
And touching here, is it fabric or is it just softness or hardness, different degree of hardness, different from the hardness here?
Different.
So different, so softer hardness, but it's just softness. So is it myself that is touched, or is it just softness or hardness or warmth or coolness that is touched?
Softness.
Softness. So the point is that the self cannot be seen or heard or touched or tasted. It's just what is thought about only. Oh, it's the softness of the fabric, and it's the fabric on my leg, which belongs to me. So this is the story about I. It's not actually what is there at this moment of touching.
Well, just to clarify or elaborate a little, we can think of when we say the I, it can be understood in two senses. This individual, not that, not another person. So in that sense, we can say without any quite correctly that it's me, not him, not my neighbor that's being touched, but there can also be the idea of a controlling self that exists apart from the experiencing of the thinking. So some people might call it a soul, or another word for it. That's what I think we're getting at, that we assume the existence of some controlling essence behind all the experiencing.
Do you have any topic or question you'd like to bring up this afternoon?
Thank you, Sarah. I have one doubt. When we are studying about the Dhamma, we always focus on the present moment. What is there now? But most of my work involved thinking a lot, planning a lot about the future, and thinking about the past to analyze the trend and to better plan for the future. So in that sense, when I was working, I always have to have a deep thought about what should we do, what should the company do in the future. And mostly it's about thinking. It is not focusing on the present moment. So if this kind of nature of work deviates from the path of the Dhamma?
Is that thinking then, thinking about the schedule for the future or the schedule that occurred before, is it any different from thinking now, or is it just thinking about different ideas just like now?
Yes, the same thinking.
And is the thinking conditioned then just like now?
Yes, similar.
Yeah, so it's just different moments of thinking that are conditioned. So just like now, after seeing, after hearing, there's thinking about different sounds, different visible objects, different stories about them. So just the same. So when there is the understanding about the truth now, seeing now, hearing now, thinking now, then no thought about whether this situation would be better or worse than the other one. Like now, if the conditions to think about what I ate for lunch, that thinking is conditioned already and can be the object of understanding. If there is the idea now, somehow I should stop that thinking, or I should go to another place where I don't have lunch, so there's no thinking about lunch. That would be right or wrong understanding.
It will be the wrong understanding.
It'll be the wrong understanding because it's an idea of changing the situation or trying to stop certain kinds of thinking, or if there is the idea that if I stop my job, there will be more understanding because there will be less thinking about the spreadsheet, for example. That would be completely the wrong way, because like we discussed this morning of Griffin, the seeing, the hearing, the thinking, it's just like the seeing, the hearing, the thinking when one's given the schedule for the day at school or the schedule at work or the schedule coming here. So it always comes back to the present moment. So if there's thinking that another job might be better, it's just thinking. And if there's doubt, it's just doubt, just different conditioned dhammas. So understanding means one lives more easily, no matter what the circumstances, less idea of a different place, a different time, a different job. In order for understanding to occur, less idea of slowing down or coming here or going there, because life is just at this very moment, no matter at work or now.
And when you say that we focus on the present moment, I think we discuss a lot about the realities of the present moment, because they are what can be the object of awareness and understanding. They are what the Buddha spoke about in his sermons when he talked about the five khandhas, what needs to be understood, what is a burden, etc. And this is where some people make the mistake of thinking that the Buddha said that we should only think about the present moment. He didn't ever say that. He said what is to be understood is what is appearing at the present moment. If there's thinking about the past or the future or the present, that is the reality, the thinking. Thinking is the reality, not the concepts that are the object of the thinking. So there's no suggestion from the Buddha that thinking about the past or the future is to be avoided, is indicative of any kind of kilesa or wrong view. The enlightened being also has to think about the future and the past. Would they accept an invitation for lunch tomorrow? Well, they have to know whether they already have a commitment for lunch tomorrow or not. We can distinguish between the reality of the present moment and thinking itself a reality, but about the past or future.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, Sarah and John. Yes, I appreciate the answer, because most of the time, because of the nature of my work, mostly I will have to dig deep down into the thinking. So as the time passes, it kind of become a habit. So even though I'm out of work, but my head is still there thinking a lot and miss out the present moment. So sometimes when I have holidays to foreign countries, for example, for 1 week, and then when I'm back to my home country, I kind of feel I haven't had a holiday, and I hardly remember where I have went, because during the holiday trip, I keep thinking a lot. So even though the view is very beautiful, but the head is thinking about something else. So this is a problem that I think happens in my experience. So when I heard Ajahn always ask, what is there now? Is there seeing now? It kind of reminds me to be in the present moment. Yes. So yes.
The same problem for everyone. thinking for everyone just the same, seeing, hearing, thinking about endless stories for everyone, just the same attachment, the same ignorance, the same aversion, same problems for everyone. And when we think I have to dig into the thinking or go down into the thinking, it's all I about my thinking and my problem and my situation. It's not the understanding of Dhamma now. So moments of thinking, moments of seeing, moments of hearing, just different Dhammas by conditions. As soon as there's the idea that in another situation there will be less thinking or no problems, it's not the understanding now.
And if there wasn't thinking about the work when you're on holiday, there'd be thinking about something else. Would it be any less agusala if you're suggesting, yeah, would it? It doesn't really matter what the object is. There's the tendency to think all sorts of stuff all the time.
Yes, that's right. If I don't think about one thing, I'm going to think about the other thing. It kind of become a habit, and so so when I heard Ajahn telling what's there now, I kind of try to focus on the present moment, what is seeing now, because seeing now can condition not thinking. So that's what happened. Yes.
Again, I trying to be aware now. It's all about me.
And can I say, well, you said thinking becomes a habit. It's more than that. It's the nature of the mind for everyone. So even the enlightened being, seeing and hearing each followed by thinking about what has been seen or heard. Because in order to understand what I'm saying at the moment, there has to be a lot of thinking going on. It happens seamlessly, transparently, or whatever the word is, unrecognized and so instantaneous. But if whatever the situation, the mind never stops thinking, and one will come across the idea that the development of the path involves less thinking. That is not our understanding of what the Buddha taught at all. It's just a matter of understanding the different realities, any of the different realities that may be appearing at the present moment. And if one of those realities, obviously, apart from seeing and hearing, is going to be thinking.
Rita, would you like to add your comment live? She just wrote a note. Would you like to say something to Rita?
Hello, Rita. Nice to meet you. My name's Zita. It was the comment that he made reminded me of my question yesterday about seeing, like seeing visible object and thinking it's lasting. It's all thinking. I heard a talk this morning. I was listening to a talk this morning on my computer, and yes, there is seeing, there's hearing, but there's a whole lot more thinking going on. And so when you made that comment about, your thinking, I really relate to that. Lots and lots and lots of thinking all the time. And there's no controlling it, because there is no me or I to control. So it's just a matter of getting to know the moments of thinking. But it takes a long time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
as I hear you talking about thinking and think about thinking, thinking doesn't arise alone. Vitaka, there are other Jetasikas involved, and sometimes it's the attachment or the aversion that is arising at the same time, I think, that causes more and more irritation. And so I guess the question is it the thinking that's the problem or the irritation?
Yes, it's true that sometimes it irritates me, but most of the time I'm fine with the thinking. I just want to clarify whether it is on the right path of the Dhamma. Yes.
It sounds like the thinking is going to happen, whether you want it to or not, because there's no you that can wish it to start or stop. And a number of people we're all, in some ways, all talking about the same thing. There's this constant, it seems like there's this constant flow of thinking. And I get it seems it comes down to what Ajahn would say, and what is the present moment? What is there at the present moment? And I think one could answer thinking fairly safely, even though there was no direct understanding of it. So I can't put this anywhere near as well as Ajahn does, but it seems to me that, you know, what the understanding of what is occurring at this moment is the important. Well, that is what needs to happen, is understanding of what is occurring at the present moment, which would enable to understanding to grow. It's not that we should or we want to, because it all happens by conditions. I don't know whether if that's of any assistance or not.
Thank you. Yes, that is helpful.
Thank you.
It seems like we understand what we have talked about, but no understanding of this moment at all. Is it right? So the point of listening to the truth of this moment is to understand the truth of it as it is. So be truthful to the truth, whether there is the understanding of this moment. Because we have talked about so many different moments, about different ideas, and understand that by way of story and thinking. But what is there now is not yet understood. Even when we talk about it, for example, what is there now? See, what is real now? To be truthful, what is real now? Again, it conditioned moment if I have some thought about this moment little by little to get closer to the truth of what is there now in a moment. So shall we talk just one moment now? What is there? To not forget the truth of it.
There is thinking now.
There is thinking now. What moment?
This moment.
Not moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. If you don't talk about the details of one moment at a time that arise before thinking or before hearing, we live in the world of thinking from what is seen right now. Even who's there and what's there is thought about, the shape and form of that which appears, And before the shape and form can appear, it's only that which is seen. No shape, no form yet. But when whatever appears, it appears by way of nimitta, just the sign of a characteristic or a sign of something together. Like we see, we think that it's a glass, but what is seen has to be only that which can be seen. And with our different colors, how can it condition the idea, make it known as something different? Cup and this is different, all by thinking. Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching cannot have that function at all. Seeing just arises to see only hearing, smelling, tasting, touching in a day. And seeing follow all the way, whatever is experienced. There is thinking instantly of that which is seen as something together. For example, just one dot, very tiny, seeing which can impinge or touch the eye base only can be seen. So nothing which we think, like the table and people, cannot be seen. So be truthful in order to understand the truth of no one at all, only different conditioned realities through different doorway, and then thinking all day. Yesterday we heard a madman. Where is he? Here and now. See, mad about that which is seen. Taking it for something all the time, pleasant or unpleasant, different happenings and so on. Thinking about tomorrow or yesterday or next year, all by thinking. A madman, not understanding the moment of seeing at all. So where can you find the madman? Any moment of no understanding the truth. Is that right?
Yes.
Mad, thinking madly about that which is not as we thought, but as it is. No one at all. Seeing is just seeing, only at moment of seeing, and then gone forever, never to arise again. But the madman think a lot about it, about this life, next life, tomorrow, and function, and what would be done from day to day. So mad. Otherwise, how can there be the understanding? It just take a long, long time to understand the truth, to realize the truth, how much ignorance, moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, as I and someone, as yesterday, we're talking to what? Madman. People and things. But in truth, firm confidence of the truth, actually, there's no one and no permanent thing at all. Whatever is there, just is there. When it's not experienced, it's gone, never to return at all. Is that true? To really understand the truth, not just by words or only in words, but the truth of the nature of that which is now, as it is. Seeing is not that which is seen. The madness comes afterward. What is seen? So different worlds and situation and the war and whatever. About that which is seen, about that which is heard through 5 doorways. Without the experiencing of each doorway, can there be the world, people and things? Seeing just sees and then gone, never to arise again. It cannot think either. So thinking is not seeing, and thinking follow the process of experiencing through the 5 doors instantly. And who knows, there must be the moment of the experience, the unknown object in between. After the object which is seen far away, the sound cannot appear instantly. One moment after one moment, unknown. So what is known now? Even there's the chittas before seeing and after seeing, which cannot see, but what appears is only seeing. Is it true? Just have firm confidence of the truth, that's all. To be the way to experience the noble truth, Ariya Satya Dhamma. So true. What is now is just only when it's there appearing, but it's shorter than that, because not only one single moment see, many moments right now. Who knows? The one which has fallen away and the other follow instantly with the Wanka in between. So the more we learn about the truth, just to understand this moment as it is, firmer and firmer, until it can condition the understanding instantly by conditions, the firm foundation of understanding the truth, that what is there, hardness is not that which experiences hardness. So it is a reality which arises just to experience, no matter through what the way, different object by different conditions. It is not permanent as well. It cannot be permanent at all, because it just see and then gone. The condition for just seeing to arise, not the moment before seeing, or moment after seeing, but just the seeing to arise now. As soon as it has risen, condition to arise to see, it's gone. No condition for it to stay on. It is conditioned to arise, so it arises and then gone. Now, and if you just think about the story about it cannot appear at moment of thinking. There is seeing, the moment of seeing only, and thinking about whatever cannot see. Thinking just arises to think, that is all. And there is thinking almost all the time. So in truth, what arises more, the seeing or the thinking? But the world appears as no moment of not seeing anything. Whatever is seen is only color all day, from life, from moment to moment. And the one who take it for something as this and that, with ignorance like a madman. So who's the madman and where's the madman? Not far away at all. See?
When you ask about being on the right track or right path, well, most of the time it's not the right track, because most of the time it's the madman. Whenever there's ignorance and a clinging, whenever there's aversion, all those moments cannot be said to be the right way, the right path. So this is most of the time, madness most of the time. And it's never I that is on any path. So the moments when there is understanding and no madness, so very brief. And in between, seeing, hearing, and thinking with madness, with ignorance and attachment most of the time. Even during a Dhamma discussion.
Oh, the food is very delicious. How mad it is. That moment. Just a moment of tasting and then gone. But the story of what is it? What are they? All the time.
Intl.Dhamma, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, you've brought up that aspect of madness, which I think Alan brought up yesterday. That's the root of the Pali word pamada, you know, when the Buddha's last words were, you know, the last two words, apamadi and asampadita, but apamada means non-madness. He encouraging people to strive with non-madness, but people, as you were saying, have pamada, and the root of that word is mud, and in English, of course, it's mad or muddy or dirty, if you like, but madness is very much part of the Dhamma, in which the Buddha encourages people to be non-mad or to be appamada, which is, yeah, just the opposite.
And the best medicine for everything is the understanding of the truth.
Be now, because it can't be at any other time, no matter at work or it has to be now. And it's also Vincent's last session today. Anything you would like to bring up, Vincent? Anything about the topic we mentioned this morning or anything?
Man.
To be understood.
Thank you, Ajahn and Sarah, for the discussion.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jonathan. Shankar.
Everyone can join from home as well. So